So good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another of our communications infrastructure interviews. And today I'm joined by Rich Coyle, who is President and CEO of Extenet Systems. So Rich, we'll start with the easy questions first. Who are you and what does Extenet do?
Great, well, thanks for inviting me, and appreciate the opportunity to tell a little bit about Extenet. Extenet is a privately held company. We're a leading national provider of converged communications infrastructure that we provide services addressing outdoor or the MNO needs, outdoor and indoor. We work with the real estate venues, communities, and also we have an enterprise business where we do advanced connectivity needs for our customers.
Okay. A lot of moving parts these days, a lot of pieces to wireless. I know you and I have both been around for a while. It used to be a lot simpler, but now we've got 5G, we've got CBRS, we've got private networks, we've got obviously mentioned the operators. I know you guys have done a lot of stadiums over the years. So when you look at the opportunity now in wireless, what do you see? And then how does Extenet get to that? And I guess really, for a while we've been dealing with licensed spectrum. Now we have CBRS in the US as well. So that opens up things. So how do you view the whole opportunity?
Yeah, I think we see the opportunity keeps evolving as we're moving along. You know, as people want an enhanced experience when they use their phones, they want information as fast as possible and as readily as fast as possible. We see it both from the MNOs, where they're looking for the opportunity to grow their networks out and where we can help support them. But we're also starting to see, as you mentioned, we work with a lot with the real estate side, the venues, whether that's sports venues or hospitality. When people go to these venues, they want to get the best possible experience. We do a lot of work in the sports venue areas, and initially we're going in there to put an infrastructure to an access network for the carriers to support their customers. But now, as you're talking about CBRS and private wireless, those venues want to enhance that experience for the customers from the minute they hit that parking lot, come in the door, whether it is the POS systems or whatever it is that they're looking to enhance. They're starting to come to us and saying, how can we enhance that experience for the customers? Very similar, we were awarded the MGM DAS and Wi-Fi indoor deal across all of their networks. And one of the main drivers for MGM is they want to make sure that they can give the best possible experience from the minute their customers hit that property, whether they're in the casino area, the hotels, or the restaurants. They want to have that experience. So it's not only important that we support a network for the carriers to utilize, but also then for MGM themselves and how they can enhance the experience of their customers.
Right. So without divulging too much of MGM's plans, you mentioned DAS and Wi-Fi. Are they also looking at CBRS as well for a private network? Do they view that in the future as well?
They definitely view that in the future. They're looking at a lot of different things that they're not able to publicly talk about with respect to gaming. But yes, they're always evolving and trying to figure out how they can have the edge and enhance that customer experience. And that includes potentially looking at a private wireless network.
Right. And then you mentioned obviously the stadiums and the venues. So do you find now that who's coming to you to put in new solutions? Is it the operator leading here, or is it the stadium owner, the building owner that's saying, look, we've got a DAS, we've got Wi-Fi, we want to do X, Y, Z, and now they're coming to you? Who's leading this from your perspective?
It's, a few years ago, it was purely the operators, the MNOs. We are now seeing the venue owners coming out and saying, hey, I need to enhance my experience. We do a lot of work with AT&T Stadium down in Texas for the Dallas Cowboys. Those guys, their IT department, their CTO, he's always trying to be on the cutting edge. He wants the next best thing so that he can be, one, he wants to be the leader, but two, he really wants to have that best experience in that facility. So we're starting to see a lot more of the venue owners and their IT groups saying, hey, how do we give the best possible experience? And so it's, for us, it's a breath of fresh air, because we like to see that alignment between the carriers and the venue owners.
Right. So I'm down here in Austin. My wife's she's the Cowboys fan. Probably my son as well. Me, 49ers all the way. So it's always a lot of fun in our household. So
I'm a New York Giants fan, so it's,
okay.
I'm not very welcome down in AT&T Stadium, I guess. That's why we have a team that handles them.
We could get into the whole Chicago thing as well. We don't have to go there.
Exactly.
Right. So obviously today's world is probably very different than it was 6 months ago. Inflation and supply chain issues still, I think, which I think a lot of us were expecting those to start to get resolved this year. So from your perspective, obviously you're an integrator. You take equipment and deploy it, right? So how does, let's split the two out then, inflation and supply chain. Have you seen those affecting the market? And specifically, what have you guys done to counter that?
Yeah, I'll take supply chain and break it into two pieces, because there's the product, whether that's the fiber, the equipment, but then you also have the construction companies or the vendors or the engineering firms and them having the people to do the work. So I'll take the first piece on the product itself and getting that. We are seeing an impact on us. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to buy in bulk as in advance as best we can. For example, things like fiber. We know that we can utilize fiber across the country in a lot of our different products in offerings. And so we can order in bulk. Where we run into the problem is specifically when you talk about indoor and you talk about a venue, what works down at AT&T Stadium may not work at the Bellagio in Las Vegas. So we don't have the ability to stockpile that equipment per se. So that we have to judge as best we can. And we work with the OEMs or the cable, in this case, the OEMs, to make sure that we have it. And now you switch over to the contractors. That's where I feel we're seeing the biggest impact. It's just getting the talent and getting the crews available to us. And that's not unique to just us, it's across the board. And so that's where we have to get in as creative as we can and ensuring that we can keep those contractors working, paying them on a timely basis, doing different things that we can, maybe pay them a little quicker in some instances. And so we're trying to work with them, but I'm seeing more of an impact more on the contractor side than I am on on what I would say the product side. And then inflation. Yeah, inflation is hitting us because we've signed deals. So the type of work that we do, it takes us 18 to 24 and even 36 months to build out projects. So when we made projections, even 6 months ago, the impact of inflation is hitting us. And so we're trying to adjust and figure out the best way possible to keep those expected margins that we were getting to get on those jobs, try and keep them in line. But it's definitely having an impact on our business.
Right. Do you see, inflation, I think, is still uncertain going forward, but do you see the supply chain getting better? Is it improving compared to where we were maybe a year ago, 6 months ago?
Right now, no. I would say we're still seeing some significant lead times, particularly around equipment. You can see lead times going from anywhere from, we're seeing stuff going out as far as a little over a year out on it, where you never had that before. Right. And so we haven't seen that lighten up. Obviously, hopefully, that does change, but right now we haven't seen a big change on when it comes to equipment. Talk about fiber, the availability is there, but when you talk about equipment, we're still seeing some significant lead times.
Okay. So you've been with Extenet for a while. I think you were COO before President CEO. So what would you say, kind of the open-ended question here, but what would you say is the most surprising thing about Extenet that people don't know?
Yeah, I've been with Extenet now going on 4 years, and was COO for the first 3 years. And I think one of the things that people will be surprised is, the culture that we've set up here and the people that we brought in is because one of the things you realize is it's kind of the theme of what you've talked about. It's an evolving market. It's an evolving time and period for all of us. And I think the thing that's helping us set the table and be prepared as we move forward is the people, the diversity and the culture that we're bringing in. A lot of different ideas, a lot of new leadership team in here. And I'm excited about what the opportunity that we have in front of us because of the team that we've built and the diversity that we're bringing to the table.
Right. So last two questions. First one is one I always like to ask is, so what keeps you awake at night? And by the way, I'll give you a few seconds to think about this one. But people have said, my dog, my kid, we had a burst pipe last night, things like that. That doesn't count. So it's what keeps you awake at night from a business, maybe economy, environment point of view. And really the question is, what is it we should be addressing as an industry now that if we don't address today is going to come back and bite us in a year or two?
Yeah, the two things, I would say it's two things. I know you asked for one, but I'll kind of give you two and kind of see how we bring them together. I think for us, it's the how quickly will the small cell and 5G rollout commence from an outdoor perspective in particular. There's a lot of focus on C-band and macro tower and low band type work. So obviously for me, being a smaller company, a private company, we need to, obviously that's our bread and butter. And so that keeps me up at night, and because I'd love for it to come back sooner than where we're at. But then the second one is really it's the people aspect that concerns me a lot is keeping people and attracting people. I think we're in a time of change where getting people back in an office, getting people working for the same type, what is the opportunity for them, and that's been proven to be pretty challenging right now. Is not only attracting folks but retaining folks, and I think we got to balance that out, particularly for somebody like this, as we're looking for the market to come back, particularly around 5G. We have to watch out, and what concerns me is how do we not only attract but retain employees through this period of time as well.
All right. So last question. We're sitting here in June of 2022 here, end of June. If we talk in another year, 18 months, so middle to the end of 2023, what we'll be talking about? What will you be highlighting?
It's a good, that's a good one. You stumped me there. What I think one of the things I think we're going to be talking about is private wireless, enterprise private wireless, and the emergence of that segment of the business. I really think that's going to be a big part of our business moving forward. And so, I think that's what we'll be talking about in 18 months from now.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's we've had a delay, obviously, because of the pandemic. But,
yep.
I mean, there's a lot of, and we look at we look at the different vertical markets. They've got growth in all of them. Some take longer, some are sooner. They're not all the same shaped curve either. But certainly next year we should start to see some developments. There's a lot of pilots out there. So
it's definitely a lot of pilots. There's a lot of, I think there's a lot of interest from the enterprise segment. Is what do they want and what do they really think they have? You're going from Wi-Fi to private wireless, and what's the difference and what it means. And I'm just excited. I think there's a lot of opportunity there for us to help, folks out.
Yeah. Great. Well, Rich, thanks very much for the time. Good to talk to you as always. And thank you.
No, thank you, Ian. I really appreciate you taking the time, and hopefully we gave people a little bit to think about, not only Extenet, but the industry. So thank you.
Great. Thanks.
All right. Thank you.